Hey, welcome back to Colin's Kitchen. On the road again. That's real horsepower. Delivering auto parts to so-called friends. Because the kitchen table is my favorite spot to be working. I wish that I was anywhere but here. But let me shut my window here. A little noise. Working on those Mustangs again. I think I missed my calling as a country and western star. I don't know. What do you think? Brakes are all together. I'm not going to go through the process of how I did it. There are lots of really good YouTube videos on that you can look up that show you how to put together the brakes on a 9-inch Ford rear end drum brakes. So that's it all together. I just wanted to let you see what Colin's restoration looks like. Everything's all painted, looks pretty. Not necessary, but it's just something that I wanted to do. Next time I pull that drum off, I don't want to see rust. So I prettied it up a little bit. Again, I used caliper paint, and that silver is high heat engine paint. So we shouldn't have any issues with that. Make sure that you put the right adjuster screw in so that you're going the right direction. They're marked right and left in the box when you get them. I did have some issues with ordering parts. I ordered my first kit here. There's the part number. It's pretty much Dorman or Raybestos that you get everything from. I don't know what these are. Anyway, it came like that, but it didn't come with the cable, and I had to order this Raybestos kit here. That's the other side, but there, and then in that bag, you get an adjuster screw, a new cable, a new rubber. The rubber did come in this bag. I got the rubber in already. There's the other side, so that you can see what it looks like. Gonna have to take a little bit of this apart again when the emergency brakes come in. I don't want to put the emergency brakes on right now, so they're just going to be dangling in the way. So I did order my adjusters separately, so I have two sets now, but I do have to do the brakes on Marvin, the 71. So I got extra sets now. Anyway, I've got one more to put together over here. And there's my new, let's see here. There's my new ARP bolts for the housing. New studs, with new nuts and new washers. There's your part number right there. It's for the carrier. So this was relatively inexpensive for all this stuff. I do to get a little bit of a deal. We're buying everything through work, but I did buy these ARP bolts. We don't sell them, so I had to buy them on Amazon. And this was the most expensive part of all of this. But I think when you add in gaskets, whatever else I'm going to cut my own gaskets for the housing. And everything else that I did, I don't know. I'm guessing I probably got like somewhere between $200-300 Canadian into this. So I'm guessing you can, if you add into the drums and you're going by US dollars, you're probably $300 worth of stuff. Maybe not. Maybe you guys get it cheaper. I had a set of drums, so this has been relatively inexpensive for me. But there you go. Other than the paint and everything else, we've kind of, cleaned up that rear end that looked like a lost cause, and done it all relatively cheap. And that's the key. Quality restoration, as cheap as possible, doing all the work ourselves. And there's a quality restoration. It's, as far as I'm concerned, that's the nicest looking drum brake I've ever seen. So there you go. There you have it. Then you get the view out my back kitchen window. Anyway, you're all up to date on that. I'm not going to show you putting the rest of it together. So at some point, we'll. I got to clean that housing one more time. So get it, make sure there's nothing floating around in there when I put the gears back in. I got to put a new. I still don't have my seals pressed on my axles. So, but anyway, I'm gonna mount these plates this weekend, and maybe that'll make it into this video. I'm not quite sure yet. But anyway, there's your update. Get at her. All right, there we go. Everything back together, left and right, the way it's supposed to be. All done. Get at her. All right. Here's what we got. We got rod here. This is not so bad, but this is definitely a huge problem. And it's funny because we work our way down here, and all it was surface rust until we get to here, and it's punky and full of holes, and definitely well rotted there. The funniest part about this is around the shackles, where it usually rots out first because crap gets caught in this back corner here. Looks just fine. It's not. There's no holes. It's not punky at all. I got to cut these off so I can really get at it. But that one and this one seem just fine. I don't see any rot around there at all. If you look, the part of the frame that I cleaned off here is just going to extend on here. It looked exactly the same. So it's just surface rust and dirt. Don't confuse a lot of this. This is mud. There's a lot of this on here that's mud. I mean, that's a galvanized piece, and or it's treated as zinc or something, whatever it is. It cleans up right to bare metal. So I'm gonna have to get a set of frame rails. We're gonna have to find out, the frame rail extension only goes so far. The seam is somewhere in here, and then there's an inner piece that fits inside the frame rail itself, and then you have an overlap that you can weld, and then you fill the seam up and grind her down, and it basically becomes invisible. That's definitely going to get repaired because that's not part of the frame rail replacement. I can't get a whole frame rail. Starts back here. That would be almost impossible to find. I don't even know if there's new old stock available for that kind of stuff. I've never seen one. So I'm sure that somebody has one someplace. But anyway, we're not going to know until we get that shackle off. We're going to have to buy the frame rails. They're about 150 bucks Canadian, so for a pair. So I'll get them. We may cut a portion of the frame rail out and weld it in here to get rid of all that, or we may replace the whole thing. I think now, even all this trunk floor, yeah, you can see those are the little pit holes I showed in the first video. But the rest of it seems okay. There's still remnants of paint on it. I haven't seen any other holes that I'm blowing through, so you definitely have this gas tank bracket that had holes up here, and now I see there's some holes down here, so we may be making one of those. The bonus if we switch the trunk floor is that we get inside the frame rails from the top. And then we can coat them and neutralize the rust from inside, which would be a big bonus if we're repairing this. Anyway, can't make those decisions today. We're gonna have to start chopping, but I'm gonna have to decide whether I'm switching this trunk floor or not. And I'd rather not if I didn't have to, and I'm not gonna know until I got it cleaned off. And cleaning this trunk floor is gonna have to wait for another day. I'm not gonna get there today, but yeah, that's disappointing. The other one's fine. There's no spots like that on the other ones. So unfortunately, something happened there, and something got at it. Either the undercoating was thin there or something. Who knows? But anyway, this can be fixed. You gotta get the rubber off. Enough chitty chat for today. Speculation does nothing but add worry. So now we know what we're dealing with. We'll address it, and we'll go from there. All right. One last thing for the naysayers that said that floor was rotten. Well, there you go. All cleaned off down here. All cleaned off right to the front. It's not rotten at all. Drive shaft tunnel, tranny tunnel, front frame rail. Not rotten at all. These floors they'll be just fine. I got couple of little patches to put on to deal with some pinholes, but other than that, she's good. Oh, that was a bit of a kick in the groin, that one. But it is what it is. This one here, really, I had no idea it was that big. And that little booby right there, again. So, anyway. Okay, I'm just going to show you here how easy it is to deal with some of these dents. We've got one here. Got a depression there. I don't know if I can get the right angle to show it to you, but anyway. Definitely got a little bit of a bump there. So we're gonna walk around here, out to this side. And there it is, right there. Let's see what we've got now. And there we go. Gone. That was it right here. There was a crease in it right through here. I gave it a couple of taps. And she's gone. So we're gonna have to do a little maintenance like that. Got one there. Needs to get dealt with. And I think we've got one here. There's a big one there. So let's see if we can get that one out. That's on the big panel. There it is right there. All right, have a look-see. And there she is, gone. Smooth as a baby's bum. All right. Got a lot of those little things to deal with. There's another one right there. We know every inch of this car now, so if we knock these out as we go, we're gonna get them looking really good. That one there was really bad, and she's perfect now. So there's a lot more little things to do. I got dents here and dent there, and so we'll get there. We'll get there.
It's story time with Colin now. Come gather round and see. He shares the tales of days gone by for you and all to be. The memories, they come alive like stars up in the sky. Each moment shines so bright and clear, you'll feel like you were there. Listen close and you will find the magic in his mind. Every story takes you far, like chasing shooting stars.
So let's get at it. Good morning. Well, it's good morning for me. Might not be good morning for you. Auto parts delivery man. Yes, I'm working today. I'm in the truck and I'm doing skid deliveries. So I a bit of a haul today. Got a lot of kilometers I gotta run, and I thought I'd come on and chat a little bit and go a little bit more in depth into what it costs to restore a classic Mustang. And we touched on it in our last episode with Storytime with Colin, and this is kind of like Storytime with Colin Part 2. So we have a local shop that I deliver to that does classic car restoration. They're great guys there. They do an incredible job. And I was in talking with them a few weeks ago, and I was saying to them, what is the cost of a restoration if somebody brings a car in to be worked on? And I had been watching another YouTuber who was talking about restoration costs, and they were talking in terms of US dollars. And they said anywhere from, 100,000 to 300,000 US. And I found this intriguing, that I had no idea. Even though I work in the auto parts business, I've been restoring cars on and off my whole life, and I had no idea that people were paying that kind of money to restore average cars, average classic cars. I knew that money went into rare cars, in those figures, plus the cost of the car. But I had no idea that average people were spending that kind of money. And so, I wanted to dig a little deeper, and I wanted to find out if there was truth to that. So I went in to see the boys. They'll be on delivery one day, and I just said, "Can I pick your brain for a minute?" And I said, "What is the average restoration cost that runs through here?" And crazy enough, they came up with almost identical figures, saying anywhere from 100, 150 to 350 Canadian for a restoration. And he gave me a specific car he had recently finished, and I'm not going to mention it because I'm not going to divulge that kind of information, but just in case the person who owns the car doesn't want that out. But I was shocked. I was literally shocked that someone would spend $350,000 on the car that they spent it on. The car had sentimental value. It had been in the family. I can completely understand that, but that's a lot of money. And I know there's a lot of boomers out there who are sitting on decent amounts of cash because they've had a successful career or a successful life, and I can understand that. I can understand, getting on in age and wanting to have the car of your dreams. So, this has made me question the entire classic car industry, because clearly what justifies that kind of spending on a car like that is, eliminate the people who do it because they don't care how much it costs because the car means something to them. That's fine. That's a choice that people make, and I completely understand that. If that car's full of memories, and that's what we're doing on this channel, we're making memories. So if that car's full of memories and you've had it since it was new or whatever, and it means the world to you because it's part of your life, I'm sure there's no limit to what you'll spend on it to get it the way you want it to be. But it's the world of the of the Christmas, New Year's auctions that really somehow falsely justifies these insane prices that people are spending rebuilding these cars. It's crazy. And the thing is, unless your car is something special, the Barrett Jacksons of buyers of the world are only going to spend that kind of money on something that is special. When something ho-hum regular rolls across the Barrett Jackson line, it doesn't fetch the six-figure numbers that some of the other cars fetch. So, having someone else build a car for you, although it might be done professionally and it may be done right, and not everybody is good at what they do, but there are people out there that are exceptional. And, I understand it costing that. I just don't understand spending that. I don't live in that world. I couldn't care less about that world. I don't watch those auctions. I run away from people that, matching numbered nonsense where everything in the car is perfect right down to the last screw. I really don't care. I have no interest in that. A museum quality car, if I want to go see that, there are lots in existence right now. I just have to go to the Blue Oval Garage and look at a 1971 429 Ram Air, my dream car. Well, he's got a whole building full of them. So if I want to see one, I know where to go. I know it's done right. I know it's restored immaculately. And but other than spending a day looking at it, well, what would I do with it? I'd be scared to drive it. Never mind trying to keep it up, and where am I going to park it, and all these things that it just makes no sense to me. I don't do this so that I can brag I have the nicest 1971 429 Mustang on the planet. I do this because it's a hobby, because I love cars, because cars are a part of my life and bring back memories. And I want to make more memories. So, when it comes to restoring a car, are there things that I can do? Yes, that save me money, absolutely. Are there things that I'm not good at or need to learn more on or whatever if I want to tackle on my own? Absolutely. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a genius when it comes to car restoration. But I'm not scared to learn, and I'm not scared to try. And that's how it was when I was a kid, because there wasn't this wealth of knowledge that had been working on cars for 40 years, because muscle cars hadn't existed in the past 40 years. It was a new thing. So, that if you found somebody who had experience doing stuff like that, it was because they were driving, street rods when they were, taking old Model Ts or Model As and chopping them up and building rad rods. That's the kind of guy who had experience and talent when I was growing up. Or a guy driving a 56 Chevy, that was, the old timers when I was a kid. That's what they did. So when muscle cars came along, everybody was young, that was playing around, and so you did what you did, and you made it your way, and if your horsepower was your thing, you dropped a big block in it. If you had lots of money, you put a blower on it. You tubbed the rear end. You shortened your 9-inch. You did all that stuff. Drag racing was popular in the 70s. Used to do it on the streets. But what seems to be lost is this art of doing it yourself and doing it on a budget. I mean, I'm just going to keep hammering this home. Okay? I'm attempting to build my 72 Bruno for, including the price of the car, for $10,000 US, or less than $10,000 US. That's, it's difficult for a Canadian who's trying to, put a YouTube show on, because whenever I talk about money, there's a big difference between Canadian dollars and American dollars. I mean, for those of you that don't know, the exchange rate hovers around $1.40. So I get $1.40 Canadian for every US dollar that I have. So when I say 10 grand US, I'm talking about somewhere between $13,000 to $14,000 Canadian. Very affordable for someone working, who's on a budget, who doesn't have a huge income or a slush fund that they can tap into. That's where you need to be to experience the hobby and to enjoy it without pressure, and not feel like you have to sell the car when you finished it just to get some money back. That's the irony of a lot of this is this, and what I'm finding too is that there's not a lot of people living in the middle of that. Where's the guy that's spending 40 to 50 grand on his car and is coming out with the $300,000 restoration because he's done half of the work himself, or a majority of the labor intensive work himself? All you have to do is break down what it costs to paint a car right now if you want a really quality paint job. And let's face it, quality paint jobs are 90% sanding and prepping the body and any tin work you've got to do. That's 90% of the cost of the cost of paint's not have gone up, but it's countless hours of sanding and prepping. The actual spraying and the labor that goes into that, taping, nothing compared to the amount of hours you'll spend sanding. And that's why a decent paint job these days is costing, $30,000 to $40,000. That's what we're paying up here. I don't know what Americans are paying, and I'm sure in different states there's different prices. You have all those things to deal with that we don't have up here. So, half of the country lives in southern Ontario. So, what shocks me the most about all of this is how few people are living at the low end of the scale. There seems to be very few people that are trying to put a car together for 10 or 20 grand. I haven't met anybody. I don't know anybody. They're all spending a lot more than that because they're only doing partial work themselves. What happened to the good old days where we all did it, on our own? Our buddies came over to help with this. We had a friend that knew how to spray, and like that whole car culture of helping each other and people, working on it together and calling your buddy when you need something, it seems to be lost. And I know it still exists to some degree, but it has shrunk to, disproportionate size. And that's what I'm trying to bring back. It's not that hard to do. It really isn't. I'm hoping that, a lot of people watch my videos and they say, well, I'm not watching this idiot. If you really believe that I'm some sort of, idiot or whatever, and you're not learning anything or whatever, you've missed the whole point of the video. Because this idiot's building a car for 10 grand. And if you've watched what I've done so far, you may have questioned some things. But I'd put my work up against anybody's. And there's no special talent here. But, I think my rear end, my brakes, everything, is it concourse correct? No. I have no interest in that. Does it look really cool and it's put together properly? Absolutely. What did I spend? Absolutely hardly anything. I took a rear end that most people wouldn't even have wasted their time removing from the car. And I put a whole bunch of sweat equity into it to get it to look half decent. And it's not perfect, but it's done properly. And then I threw a little extra work into the brakes where I had a couple people laughing, going, why are you painting stuff nobody sees? Well, because I want it to be nice. I want it to last, and it's mine. I'm proud of it. I want it to look good. That's a good restoration to me. Not every restoration gets graded upon whether or not it's concourse correct. I couldn't care less. Anyway, why am I here? Maybe one or two things you'll learn. But my whole motivation, and I'm going to keep hammering this home until you're sick of hearing it, is that you can go on Facebook Marketplace and get yourself a car really cheap and build yourself a classic car, and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. And you can do it while you have a full-time job and a family and everything else. It's not hard to do. It really isn't. I don't know where this thought process has come from, where people feel like, oh, I can't afford that. It's quite affordable. And I'll tell you what, over the next 5 years, 10 years, it's going to get even more affordable. Because the big secret out there that nobody's talking about is there are tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of unfinished projects in garages and barns all over North America. There are countless cars out there where someone had a great idea and they never got around to finishing it or doing it. And as these people pass, or they get to a point in their life where they can't do it anymore. Oh, I'm shaking my kidneys. When they get to that point where they can't do it anymore, what do you think happens to that? I've seen 3 things go for sale this week on Marketplace where the person has passed and the wife is selling it and she just wants rid of it and out of the garage. And they're all similar stories, all posted by women on Facebook. And, it's sad. It's sad, but don't look at it as in that way, or you're taking advantage of something. No, look at it as in you're honoring, what that person wasn't able to do. You're going to finish their dream and honor them that way. That's how I look at it. Not out like some vulture trying to take advantage of these people. I'm saying it's a shame that car didn't get finished, and because I have the ability and because I want to, I'm going to go out and pay respect to that vehicle and finish it and do what that person had dreamed of doing themselves. That's car culture. That's what we do. We love cars. Anyway, that's my story time with Colin for this week. I felt it was important to do a second episode and break down pricing to some degree, because I didn't really touch on that in the first one. And I hope you're enjoying the show, and I hope you find it entertaining. I'm trying to be a little silly, a little funny, a little goofy, and a little serious all in one. And not easy to keep a balance of all those things because everybody expects something different when they tune in. But there's one thing we all share, and that is a passion for classic cars. And I personally have a passion for Mustangs. So anyway, that's your story time for this week. I've got a truck to empty right now. Talk to you soon. Get at her!
Every story takes you far, like chasing shooting stars.
All right. This, well, if you could smell it, you would know what it is. All right. Welcome to Colin's Garage. I did a little experiment. What am I doing today? Today, we are going to take the taillights from the parts car, these ratty pieces of crap, and we're going to refurbish them and turn them into brand new, almost brand new, taillights for less than $5. Fairly easily.